Everybody, here was my research assistant, Ollie. Beautiful California day. It's 81 degrees now, going up to 90. Spring day. And we'll give Ollie a treat here. These are the Ollie treats. You can find them in the description below. Straighten this out a little. And we have a lot to talk about today, so put Ollie down here. And we have a lot to talk about the Iran war. How's it going for you? How do you like those higher gas prices? Going to last a long time because a large part of the excuse me, let me put Ollie in. Sorry, sometimes he doesn't like me talking on the phone, which is what he thinks I'm doing. Anyway, how do you like those higher gas prices? Going to last a while because a lot of the infrastructure in the Middle East has been blown up in the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz has been shut down, but even if that opens, a lot of this infrastructure there, got gas holding tanks and pipes and drilling and all that stuff has been destroyed. It's wiped out. It's going to take years and tens of billions of dollars to fix it. So uh, there will be adjustments, even if the war ends tomorrow, which it won't. But I wanted to plays this for you here. It's EuCom Commander Alexus Grynkevich. EuCom is European Command for the U.S. military, and it's the second most after the United States itself. And he's he's a big backer of the Ukraine war. That's mainly what he's doing now. Wishing that, although he lost a lot of equipment that was going to Ukraine, the Europeans paid for it, but we provided it. It's going to the Middle East now, to Israel and the United States to fight the war there. But anyway, he was asked about Ukraine because Russia now is attacking a lot of the infrastructure um, in Ukraine because they're advancing now. They'll probably have a summer offensive, might finish the war. I'm not predicting it, but Ukraine is just worn down. Maybe 2 million men dead from the war. It's just a horrible war. Never should have happened. Never should have happened. I wrote about it a lot on my Substack. By the way, go to my Substack, johnseiler.substack.com, and check that out. I've written about it for 4 years, even before, and check that out. And so he was asked about if the Russian air war can defeat the Ukrainian military, and he says no. But watch what he says, because and that's true. Russia has 1 million troops there. That's what's going to take care of it, and the air power is just part of it. But here's what he says. This was 4 days ago on the 12th, Armed Services Committee of the Senate. Down to just a couple hours of electricity per day in Kyiv, as an example, and then attacks on the thermo heating plants as well, cutting heat to large swaths of many of the cities across Ukraine. So, the what I would say is I think that these attacks were broadly intended to put pressure on the civilian population to then pressure the government of Ukraine to come to a agreement to end the war. Um, and what I've observed over the course of studying air power in history is that anytime you attack a civilian population, you usually end up finding that it just hardens their resolve. We take this all the way back to the London Blitz in World War II. The Brits just had a stiff upper lip and kept on fighting. And I think that's what we've seen in Ukraine as well. Moving forward, I am watching very carefully to see now that it is warming up. Do the Russians continue these attacks on that civilian electrical and thermal infrastructure, or do they shift to other targets yet? At this point, it's still unclear, but we're watching it closely.
Thank you. We'll be looking forward to updates from that.
Okay, the key there, though, is if you can't win by air power, what are we doing in Iran? We can't win by air power. The general just said that. General Grynkevich can't win with air power. Didn't work in the London Blitz, World War II. And some other examples I'll provide here. It didn't work against the Nazis. We had to send the troops in there to dig them out. One was my father, John C. Seiler Sr., Captain, U.S. Army. He was in ordnance fixing all the stuff for the front line. We bombed them more than almost anything. Our Air Force, USAF, U.S. Army Air Force, burned out Dresden, burned out Hamburg and other cities, bombed everything. And of course, the Soviets, the Red Army, came in from the east while we were coming from the west with the Brits and other forces that were helping us, like the Poles and the French after we liberated France. And another one is Japan. Japan did surrender after the two atomic bombs, but there were uh, a couple million U.S. troops ready to invade if they didn't. The estimates were 1 million Americans would have died on an invasion. One was my Uncle Wally. He went in there after the surrender. He said he went in with 245s waiting for them to attack him, but they didn't. And then they were fraternizing with the enemy soon enough. Japan's been our friend since then. But the Japanese military, there were I think 3 coups against the emperor and his group, the peace group. If one of those had succeeded, then it would have been a ground invasion. And another thing is the emperor was considered a god. And of course, you're not supposed to disobey a god. The Japanese people, they were told to surrender, so they did. You could cite other examples. Vietnam, the United States dropped more bombs on North Vietnam than on Japan and Germany combined World War II. And not only did they not surrender, they won. They beat us. What about that? There are other examples that you could cite, but that's it right there. It's they're talking now about some ground forces for the United States, but we don't have enough troops really to do anything in Iran. We don't in the whole world. We don't have enough. They're sending 2,500 Marines over there now. But what can they do? If they go ashore somewhere, like on Karg Island, they're saying, how are you going to get them there first? The ships would all be shot by these shore batteries. And even if they did land there, the every square inch of Karg Island has been zeroed in to be hit by missiles and drones. They would all be killed right there. Any landing zone anywhere near Iran would be targeted, and our troops, Marines, whatever, would be wiped out. Now they could send in some special forces, the Delta Force or Green Berets or SEAL Team 6. I think they may be doing that already to look for uranium or whatever, but that's different. Now I wanted to talk about another thing here. So that's why this war is going to go on quite a bit longer. I don't know how long. I'm not going to predict that, but the Iranians have enough to last. They're not going to give in. They have, even if the Ayatollah is killed, if maybe already was killed, the new Ayatollah, the son. But even if that has happened, they figured this out for 20 years how they're going to do it. They have the hierarchy there in place, and they also, I've talked about this before, even before the war started. They have like a mosaic effect. There's like 38 different districts they set up. They're all somewhat independent. And what happened when the Ayatollah was killed? They all had their instructions. They opened up the briefing book and started attacking. That's why when they were attacked last June by Israel, they were stunned for several hours, and it took that long. The Russians helped them get their air defenses back up and get things going, but this time they were just ready for it. They were ready for Trump's attack and for Israel's attack, so they just started attacking again right away. And then they apparently have reestablished some coordination. I call it cohesion. The regime is cohered with all these areas, but they could be separated again. So they have this long-standing plan, and now they're just attacking. Right now, they're attacking American bases and this infrastructure to shut down the world economy or severely damage the world economy. I was looking today. Oil was again about 95. It went up over 100 a barrel, then it went back down again. Who knows what it's going to be? But you're going to be paying a lot more. A lot of unemployment in America. Truck drivers will be out of work. Fertilizer comes from there. I think it's 30% of the world's fertilizer comes from there. And we have enough oil in America and fertilizer, but the global market determines the price. If the price goes up, we're hurt. Trump could impose price controls, but that's a socialist measure. It's temporary. Who knows what other damage it could do? The wage and price controls in the 70s. I remember that after 1971, even before there was the Yom Kippur War between Israel and the Arabs in October, and then there was the OPEC withheld oil. But even before that, Nixon had his Nixon shock, 1971, August 15. I remember that. I remember reading about it, opposing it. Probably National Review, I read it in. Anyway, those things take time. So I also had a thing here today I wanted to talk to you about, and just don't want to make this too long, especially for I forgot to bring out some coffee. Anyway, uh, I have go to my Substack.com, my Substack, johnseiler.substack.com, and it's Iran War Sit Rep Day 17 Situation Report. What peace candidate alternative was there to Trump? So I was, I showed this. This was from Trump's his Truth Social, his Twitter kind of thing from last June. Congratulations, world! It's time for peace. That's Trump, after he supposedly solved the Iran situation after that war, the 12-day war. But I lamented here. I supported Trump for 10 years because he was the man of peace. First, I supported Rand Paul in 2015. He was the peace candidate, like his father, great guy. Wish he would have won, but he fizzled out after a couple of months. If you remember that, then in January, I think he quit, and I supported Trump right away because Trump was the other peace candidate. Everybody else was pro-war. Jeb Bush, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, they're all for this war, of course. They're all cheering, oh, Trump, we love you, Trump. We're glad you won instead of us because we couldn't have been as great as you. We couldn't have killed as many people and destroyed the economy as fast as you did. Oh, Trump, we love you. But Trump won, and he was pretty good for his first term, not perfect. I have some details there. And then, of course, we ended up with Biden for 4 years. He started this Ukraine war. I know some of my readers and viewers might think this was a good war, supporting Ukraine against Russia. But as I pointed out probably 100 times on my website, johnseiler.substack.com, there's two results from the Ukraine war. Number one, Russia wins. Number two, Russia starts a nuclear war and we're all dead. There's no third option. Okay, it looks like Russia's winning now. Horrible war, but that's what it was from Biden. And Trump, remember, he promised in his campaign against Kamala, first Biden and then Kamala when she came in. She was just continuing Biden, she said. Someone asked her, I think it was one of the debates or an interview, they said, Kamala, what would you do different from Biden on foreign policy? She said nothing. Anyway, Trump kept promising over and over, I'll end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, 24 hours. Well, it's been a year and 2 months he's been in office now, almost. 14 months, and he hasn't ended that one either. Instead, he started another war. So then I pointed out, too, in 2024, the Republican challengers, Ron DeSantis was a neocon, and then Nikki Haley, she was the one that lasted the longest, neocon. And then the horrible Mike Pence, he was a neocon, and he dropped out fast. So did Pompeo. He was a neocon, and he dropped out too. They had hopes for him early on, but he dropped out pretty fast. All neocons. Trump was the only pro-peace one, and he promised and he won on peace. I never would have supported him for a minute unless he was for peace. If he had said in 2016 in January when Rand Paul dropped out, if Trump had said, well, that's the last peace candidate, I'm going to be the war candidate. I'm going to attack Iran. When Biden starts the war in the future, because I can see the future, I'm a genius, Donald Trump, then I'm going to continue it when I get back in power in 2025. If he had said that, nobody would have supported him. He would have got 2% support from the neocons. But the neocons hated him, remember? 2015, 16, the neocons hated him because he was pro-peace. And now it's the neocons that are supporting him. They're the ones that are supporting him, whereas the pro-peace guys like me are against him now. And I was pretty strong in my criticism, and I'll just end this by repeating the last line. Trump has never been a reflective man, so it's unlikely now he understands this. The greater the betrayal, the greater the detestation of the betrayer. Talk to you next time.